All right. Al Simpson of Vampires in New Jersey, #9 Kickstarter is up now. Go check it out. Have my good friend Carmen Costa's on.
What's up,
Uh,
guys?
Brilliant. Comic creator, created Proctor, which is a fantastic vampire comic. And, he's working on other things. I wanted to talk to him. I met him at, what was that, the Philadelphia Comic Con?
Yeah, that was one of those Philly cons. I think it was
Yeah.
like over the summer.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just blown away by the artwork and your energy and everything. And, want the world to know more about you. So I thought, while I'm doing these podcasts, it'd be great to talk to you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on, dude. It's been a journey. Thank you for like literally, you know, just helping me too, man. You've been like a huge inspiration. I can't thank you enough just for the help you've been. And it's been fun watching you grow over the last Vampires 1 was what, 2015?
Yeah, I wrote the first script for it in 2015. And then I got an artist, and then my wife looked at the art and said, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
So I had to, keep going. With 2017 or 2016, I think, is when I finally got the artist that I ended up with. And I actually had a comic by end of 2016, I think.
Okay. Yeah, man. Like it's you're like the godfather of dark magic in New Jersey, man. Like
Nice.
you are the horror comic dude, man. It's been cool like watching you grow from both like a creative and also, I don't want to make it too business focused because there's a
Yeah.
creative aspect too, but
Yeah.
just growing the business of the brand, right? Because
Yeah.
I think sometimes we get, as creatives, I'm guilty of this too. We get lost in the idea of what we would like to do and execute, and we don't take a minute and look at like the nuts and bolts and dollars and cents of the marketplace.
Yep.
Like we were just talking, this idea of how do you get out in front of larger groups,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially when like, okay, I know the content's good.
Yeah.
So now I just have to get the content out in front of people. And something that I've recently been making peace with, for me anyway,
Mm-hmm.
is that and I don't want to make everything a competition, but my brain is just kind of wired that way in some instances. We're not just competing with other comic book creators. It's not 1995 or 1992.
Nope.
It would be a little bit easier if you were only competing with the fewer mediums that existed 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But when I hear people, and this speaks to the larger marketplace, when I hear comic book top complaining about the business like not doing well, right?
Yep.
My criticism is, well, you're selling a comic book, I'm selling a comic book, we are selling comic books in a marketplace that is saturated with mediums that did not exist 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So my competition isn't just other comic book creators. My competition is the TikToker. My competition's the YouTuber. My competition's the cosplay kid. My competition is anyone and everyone that creates entertainment in one way, shape, or form. And this isn't like a criticism of the guy that does food reviews. I respect the hustle and I think that's awesome. But as a creative, I have to understand that I'm competing in those spaces with those people now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's no doubt. It's a wider canvas. And because of the internet, we're all kind of mixed in as all kinds of media, all kinds of platforms, all kinds of people getting information. And it's you have to kind of, like a little fish, get into that wave wherever the wave is and find your target or your group, that digs what you do.
Yeah.
So it's it's not easy. I mean, you go out there. I just saw you. You just didn't you do Philly Comic Con again?
No, so I did.
What did you do last week? I saw you on
last weekend. I did the New Jersey Collectors Con.
Okay.
which was a toy show that for the
Yeah.
first time, I guess it took a hiatus. It came back for the
Oh,
first
okay.
time ever. They wanted to have comics there.
Oh, really? That's
Luckily
cool.
enough, the comic book store that I work at part-time
Right.
offered me some of their table space, so I was able to set up
Wow.
and kind of do that.
That's good, man.
It was cool. The tougher part, and I have to figure this out. There are so I don't know if are you familiar with Bill Mead of Frankenstein Comics?
No.
He owns a comic books. Frankenstein Comic Books is
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Frankenstein. Yeah.
Bill's the man.
I've been there.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
the man. But the
It's
first thing that he
like
tells
going to comic college.
yes,
Meeting
the
Bill.
first thing he tells me now for me as a creative, and then my brother has his
Yeah.
own comic book business called NJ Comic Stop, where he just buys and sells collections and comics.
Right.
He does
Right.
his own thing.
That's cool.
Every time I walk into the store, Bill goes, "Did you buy a calendar yet? You got to get a calendar. You got to get a calendar." And I'm starting to realize there are so many events that are taking place, and now I'm thinking like, "Oh man, I don't want to be overly critical of these events, but now
Yeah.
I'm thinking about these events in terms of how much does the table space cost?
That's
What
it.
does the foot traffic look like?
That's it.
All this other stuff, man, where what is the branding of the event?"
Yep.
Right. I saw that you did the Philly, or did you do the Philly punk rock flea market or the Trenton?
No, you know what? That one is so competitive to get in. I haven't been able to get in yet. I have a friend who's done it. You know, if you do these shows enough times, they go to you first. And that's why when guys like us try and get in, we can't get in because the same people did well and they want to keep that table. So BK Works, a friend of mine who does incredible horror art, like surrealistic type of art. It's brilliant. He does that all the time. And I went to see him just to see what it was like, and it was incredible. I mean, it's like a crazy marketplace going on there. People are kind of jammed in, but there's so much traffic. If you can get in there, you're going to do well. So.
Yeah, and I think those are the spaces that we have to think about. I think when it's like, what do I do? Because I don't think for guys like us, I don't think the internet is going to save us in terms of let me run a $50 Facebook ad, or let me run a $50 whatever ad, and hopefully it lands where it needs to land and it can bring people to my place. Yeah, I think the solution is just the old school punk rock DIY, boots on the ground, find the right events, find the right circles. I'm very excited for your Vampires in New Jersey con, man.
That's it's taking shape. I'm getting a couple of the Terrifier. 2 people are coming back, and then I'm getting interest from some other people. But it's more about the indie mentality, indie people, indie vibe, more than Hollywood or anywhere else. So
yeah,
and people really seem to enjoy that. The vendors liked it. The guests loved it. The panels were very, great information, and people just really seemed into everything. And it was, there was a vibe going around. It was just very infectious. It was all indie thought, like we're all in this together. We're all making, our art, and we have people here who appreciate it. So it was by the end of it, I was very proud. That's what I wanted it to be, because I feel like, we're comic guys. We do you do a big con. You're in Artist Alley. But now we're not famous anybody. So we're at the end of Artist Alley. So you're at the end in the dark, in the dank spot next to the bathroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hoping somebody sees you. And I said, well, I wanted to celebrate like just the fact that you're out there doing your thing, whoever you are, and that's what it turned into. So it went really well, and we had good attendance. And now, it's known as a positive, good event. The venue liked it. They did well. And, it went as well as it can go. So we'll do it again in April, and probably November too. And the first thing people said was you need a bigger place. So then we'll start looking for larger space.
That's a great problem to have.
Yeah. I mean, all of them were like, we need to, get a bigger joint next time.
Now, how many?
The reason I did April is because the vendor space sold out so quick for November that I had people who still wanted to get in. So I said, well, I'll just open up something for that. And then some of them went to, there's like the runoff. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's a big indie between Philly and New York. There's a big indie community of filmmakers, comic people, artists, all different types. And everybody's got something different and unique to offer. And when we all get together, it's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if the big cons realize it, but it's, there's a lot going on here.
I think, I think the big cons are going to eventually find themselves in a problem when it's just going to take 1 year when they book a room that's too big, and people don't turn out, and now all of a sudden the risk is not that this is true, but if there's any clamoring that the event wasn't any good.
Yeah.
Right. And we've been to those cons where you walk in and you're like, yo, nobody showed up, man. Like,
yeah.
What's going on? But I think that's because a lot of these conventions lose sight of the purpose of the convention, right? I'm starting to try and get a feel for that, where I'm like, okay, man, are you having the convention because you genuinely care about the culture and you're trying to create something special, or
no,
right, or are you the convention runner just doing chaos math in your brain, and you're like, well, I don't need anybody through the door if I can convince every table to spend $200 on a table.
Yeah.
And then the marketing isn't actually to anybody who's going to show up as a fan. The marketing is actually to the vendors to get them to show up. So now you've got 100 vendors, each spending $200, and we all think, oh my God, they sold out of vendor tables.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And now all of a sudden nobody comes through the door and we're all looking at each other like,
that's how it works. I realized that as soon as I opened the vendor space, it was like, boom. I was like, what's that about? And then I was thinking, well, technically, if I go cheap on everything, I'm done. You know what I mean? I did all right. You show up, you get what you get. But then, as a vendor, I said, well, no, I don't want that. I want traffic. I want people to enjoy what they're doing. And I want everybody to have a good time, not just the people there, but the people coming, and then the guests too, who were into it. They were into the idea of the event. So it does require, vendor is just like the beginning. Right. That's when the work starts.
I think the cons that win are the cons that are thinking like, what value can I actually bring to the community?
Yeah.
And if I can't bring anything new to the community of value, then like, what are we even doing?
Well, it is a money-making thing, and it's easy everybody's hustling, in Jersey and Pennsylvania and New York. Everybody's got a side gig. So that's the first thing I learned when I opened that gate. Everybody's like, I want to do this or do that. People wanted to eat fire. I mean, I had all kinds of people trying to.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. I had entertainers, all different types of things. I had a guy from The Walking Dead wanted to come, but he wanted me to fly him there. You know what I mean? From Atlanta. And I was I'm not that big a con yet, dude. I'm going to keep it fairly local. So it's a great opportunity to do something interesting. It just depends what people do with it.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, the more you can connect it to the needs of everybody involved and the wants and desires of everybody involved, the more memorable an event it is, and the more prolific an event it'll be.
Right. Now,
but it requires work.
Excuse me. What were the tickets at the door for the Vampires Con?
$20.
Okay. Yeah.
It was 20 and 100 for the table, and then I gave discounts on the table and the door. If you looked at my ads, I always had a discount code.
Right.
So I try to make it fair, and it worked out.
Yeah.
And now word of mouth is pretty good, so it'll make it a little easier next time.
Yeah, I'm excited for the one in the spring. Thank you for inviting me to be on the panel. That's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, the panels were really cool because what I liked about it was, people. This is a well-known club, and people hang out there, and it's got like the dark, gothic vampire vibe or whatever. But then they're all interested. They're kind of intellectual about what they do, and we had the comic book panel. We had a lot of women up front, listening to everything we said, asking a lot of questions because they were interested in doing comics. They were interested in how comics are actually made. And it was information they had never gotten firsthand before, so it was, eye opening, and I told him, as a guy who went to a con in 78, and we looked at each other and said, do you think chicks will ever show up for these things? No, girls will never show up. I mean, it was great having, everybody there interested in what we were doing.
Yeah.
So,
that's exciting.
Yeah, it was good. So you'll have a good time. They're very interested in what you do as a craft as well as what you put out.
Very cool. And that's
nice.
Yeah. And I think even something like when I show someone my comic, the first question is, do you do the art? And then I say, well, no.
Yeah.
So I say, I'm the writer.
Yeah.
And then I go through my spiel of being like, Ricardo lives in Italy.
Yeah.
Marcos lives in Brazil.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Reed lives in San Francisco. They're like, wait a minute. But then when I say, Reed, my letterer, lives in San Francisco,
right,
their brains, they're like, what do you mean letterer? Like,
yeah.
Like, you don't, who does I'm like, no, that's a job. Like, just putting the letters on the page is a job.
Yeah, I tell people, when you open a comic, you can see that like 20 people can work on one book.
Yeah.
It's the big companies use a lot of people and everybody specializes. And I've been lucky that each guy I worked with did everything.
Oh, nice.
So I had three artists. One did vampires. One did Bunny Goes to Space and Witches of Westchester. And the other one did Blackjack and how could I forget my own comic, right? Blackjack and Werewolves of Brooklyn, yeah. So that's Ron Batchelor. So it was each one, and I'd give them enough time to do what they wanted to do, and they would say, hey, I can do it in 3 months. And I would say, okay, that's fine. You work on it. We'll do milestones. We'll break up the payments and work through it.
Yeah.
And right now I have, I think, 17 floppies and 5 graphic novels. So,
yeah, which
in 3 years.
Which is crazy. And that in and of itself, like knowing how you want to, I guess, distribute your creative is in and of itself its own sort of craft, like understanding how you want to deliver the story to the reader and kind of what you're building towards, again, is a whole other thing, because a lot of people, they want to make a comic, and then the question is, well, okay, well, how long do you want your comic to be? And like, oh, I never thought about how long. Like, okay, well, do you want it to be 20 pages, 24 pages?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden the wheels start turning of being like, okay, well, 24 pages. Well, how many issues do I need to tell this story and all that other fun stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. I literally let the artist, since I've been working them with the 3 of them for so long, I let them pick. I write 3 issues at once. So it's 100 pages. So we pick certain spots where it makes sense for it to end. Okay. Sometimes it's like, I think Bunny was 24, 25. And then Werewolves was like 35.
Oh, whoa.
I toured with the idea of doing a comic that was 50 pages, but the stores I talked to were like, that's like a giant sized, we're going to have to price that weird. Just split it into 2 floppies. Like they preferred 2 floppies or a graphic novel, like all of it together. And that was, and that was them telling me the market.
I don't think they're going to have a choice in the matter. Honestly, eventually, because the consumer, like I've been nerding out about price points and margins over the last like month, like really scrutinizing things.
Yep.
And I don't see a future in a $4 24-page comic book for a couple
like that.
Yeah. For a couple of different reasons. Like mine's 24 pages and I'm selling it for $10 because that's the culture of indie books right now.
Right.
And that's what, that's commonplace in the Kickstarter world. I just saw Marvel's doing it with their Gods run that Hickman is writing. And his first issue was $9.99 and it was 48 pages.
Wow.
And number one, it's amazing.
Yeah, of course.
Number 2, our store eventually sold all of them.
Really?
And and I think this is a matter of, I have no idea where those balloons came from, but that was awesome. Had
was,
like an It flashback. I'm like, dude, is there a clown?
yeah, that was, that was pretty wild.
So, I think it's a matter of if the story's good enough
Yeah.
and you can warrant the price point, I don't think it's really going to matter, right? I
Yep.
think, and I don't think it pays to really. I don't know. I think someone would be willing to pay $9.99 for a longer story than $4.99, and then wait 2 months,
Yeah.
and then $4.99.
I agree. I mean,
You know,
you're right. The story does dictate what the buyers want. I mean, and they'll tell you, you know, they're drawn to certain things, and they'll just the feedback is always been helpful to me.
yeah. Like I'm locked in to 24 pages for 6 issues, and then my plan is just to bind them, and then I'll have one trade paperback,
Right.
volume 1, and then I'll sort of evaluate how much more I want to kind of live in. Well, I'm always going to live in this world and this
Right.
universe. I think my Proctor world is fun enough and I love it enough to where I think I can explore it a ton.
Yep.
How much time I'll spend with Samantha Hale, the protagonist,
Right.
I'm not sure yet. It's really going to depend on the reception and how much people really fall in love with her.
Yeah.
I think they will. I hope they do, but it's going to depend.
Well, me going into stores really helped. With Bunny Goes to Space, I did an art book first to see if there was a, hunger for the character. And that told me there was people would like the idea of the character having a comic book. Libertine too is like my female Punisher character. And I did an art book for Libertine, and it did about 13 or 14. So, and they said, yeah, we would like to see that character in a story. So I have a story for that too. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Mostly because these other stories are taking, precedence.
Yeah. Now, how many issues did you sell of Bunny Goes to Space?
I've only done one issue so far, and it's really the biggest thing I've done. And I didn't want to get trapped into like that's my one character. Like, nothing against Lady Death, but obviously that's a giant character that was in stores before, so it has like this long history. But I didn't want to get pigeonholed, and I didn't want to be like. But I wrote Bunny 2 like a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And I'll probably write Bunny 3. I might write it next week actually, to get it, have it ready for whatever. And then my next Kickstarter was supposed to be Bunny, and then I just lost my artist. So I'm looking for another artist, and I think I found one.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's the biggest character I've done.
How many issues did you print for Bunny 1?
You mean like my print run?
Yeah.
It was huge. I mean, it was 37,000 on Kickstarter and another 2 on Indiegogo, 2 or 3. So it had to be like, I don't know, 1,000 comics maybe.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, and the crazy thing is like, again, I've been running through all these crazy numbers, and there's a website called comicron.com that gives you print runs.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
And I'm looking at, and it's some of the data is kind of wonky, but at least from what I'm seeing, a lot of these indie books through traditional publishers
right
are only really moving like 2,000, 3,000 copies. Like they're not
printing. No, they're not. Which I always thought was interesting, because they never include like, comics is dying. And then I'm like, well, if you look at the stores, it might be slower than it was maybe 10 years ago. But if you look at comics, like none of our Kickstarter comics are counted in any of that.
Right.
And we're moving a lot of books. I mean, if I do 13 to 17 grand every Kickstarter, I'm moving a fair amount of books.
Yeah. You're moving 1,000 books.
So, and I've done 10. So, and I'm over 100. I'm probably like 160 now total. Well, if you throw in Indiegogo, probably 170.
Yeah.
So, that's a lot of comics that nobody figures into anything. Doesn't
and
show
I think
up
that speaks to the market. Like there are places for these
yeah.
worlds, right? Like there are consumers that are ready to spend money and they are enthusiastic about this stuff.
Yes,
And
they
I
are.
think it speaks to, um, and this is going to sound a little pompous on my end, but I'm just taking stock of what I'm seeing.
Right.
If indie publishers who have payroll are doing 2,000 copies of a book, 3,000 copies of a book,
Yeah, they are.
where's the, first of all, what do the margins look like?
Yeah.
And it seems like, well, if you can do 1,500 to 2,000 copies on your own,
Yeah.
it's like, well, why would I give my baby to a company that could A, break it,
Yeah.
or B, chop it up so that a ton of middlemen can get paid?
Yeah.
Right? Like that just doesn't make sense to me. It speaks to the power of the individual, the marketplace, the world that we have access to, and the worlds that we have access to. And
Yeah.
like, mate, like, these publishers aren't really.
They're not bringing a lot of value right now. No.
No, and we're
I
seeing that
mean,
with like
just
the
from the
music.
deals that I've seen people sign with indie publishers, they were better maybe 5 years ago, and now margins are lower and things are tighter, and it's like you're doing a lot of work and you're signed, but you're still working like a dog. I mean, the idea of you being signed is you should be able to focus just on your craft, and the other things should be kind of taken care of.
Correct.
I don't see much change in the way the people that I've seen that have gotten signed in the last couple of years are working. They're working just as hard. They might be working harder,
Right. And they're making less money now because
Yeah.
they're giving up all
They're
this
giving up a
profit.
piece of it. Plus, their IP is being, manipulated. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a rapper that I follow out of the Bay Area. His name's La Russell. And
That's
he's
cool.
got, I don't know, I think he's got 1 million followers at this point in time on Instagram. I don't
Mm.
know what his TikTok looks
Yeah.
like, but
Yeah.
the dude is completely indie. He has events in his backyard.
Yeah.
He tours nationally. He's turned down major label offers.
Yeah.
He does like pay what you want for tickets
Right.
to his show. He does
Yeah.
pay what you want for his music. And I listen to a lot of his interviews and a couple other artists who are kind of in different genres, kind of doing the same thing.
Right.
And they're like, well, why would I give like I'm doing all of it. So
Right.
I'm going to sign to someone and then still have to do all of it and then
Yeah.
give up whatever so they can tell me what to do.
Yeah. Well, that's the way the internet is supposed to work, in its truest form. It should allow you to reach everybody and then build your base and then, make a possible career out of it, because it grows to a certain point. And that's, that's beautiful that he can do that. People always assume with me, they're like, I had people who follow the book. They're like, why don't you just open your own store? And I'm like, I'm not, I'm not like that. I mean,
Yeah.
Everybody's perception is a little different. I post just like you post, and I have people who like follow the comic. They see me. Oh, he's here. Oh yeah, I have issue number, whatever. I'm going to go over. So I do have people who follow me, and want to catch up and want to see what's new and want
Yeah.
to, and talk to me on a regular basis, like
Right.
every 6 months or so. And I try and have new product, quarterly if I can. And it grows. It just does. And then when people come to your table, if it's somebody new and they want to get into it, I have 5 graphic novels at $20 a piece, and some people just buy all 5 right off the bat.
Right.
So that's, but that took time. I mean, I started with 1 comic, in the with that margin, and then your table and all this other stuff. It was hard the first, 2 years.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely taking my lumps like financially. And it is what it is. Like it's fine because I understand the process, so I'm not at all complaining.
Yeah, you're breaking your book with the public, and that's the toughest time.
It's wild, man. And I'm thinking like, oh man, I want 6 issues. I'm like, oh, if I'm looking at my calendar, I'm like, man, issue 6 will come out 2 years from now, but
yeah, it's about the size of it.
But it's pretty much, if I can do 2 to 3 books a year.
Yeah, well, that's a lot, man.
Like 3's a ton. Like 3, I might go crazy.
Yeah.
2, I think I can do like, I think I'm gonna consider like for issue 2, I think I'm gonna launch it like middle of March to middle of April. The Kickstarter will probably end the weekend, that Monday after Vampires.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
All right.
And then like so, I'll have like my spring issue, and then I'll have my fall issue,
All right.
which I launched the month of October,
Mhm.
and I really liked October as a
Yeah.
month.
Everybody does.
Yeah, it's a great month.
It is.
Um, and then especially for me, and I guess with you too, like Halloween lends itself to
Oh yeah.
the nature of the book. So like I can do a Halloween event, and then
Yep.
moving into this fall or next fall, fall of
Yep.
24, I'll have 2 issues ready to rock and roll and sell.
Yep.
And then I'll be able to promote issue 3 while I'm selling issues 1 and 2.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. It's all laid out, man. I mean, it's, good to have a plan, stay flexible, and keep your eyes on the prize. Keep creating a highest quality product as you can, because that eventually that's going to pay off.
yeah,
When you put it all together, there's no, with my issues, I've been lucky. I started doing the other comics because my artist for Vampires was busy. He works for Pixar, and that's his day job. And certain times of year I couldn't get them. So I said, well, I have other characters in the book. I'll spin them off.
yeah.
And that filled the gap. And then that just started building out from what it was. And that gave me, 3 vampire graphic novels, a blackjack graphic novel, and a werewolves graphic novel. And then I just did Witches 2. So next year, if I do Witches 3, that's a Witches graphic novel. And
So you do 3 issues for a graphic
yeah,
novel?
yeah. Yeah, that's what the stores were like. Yeah, it's around 100 pages. It's a solid book. It gets you into the story, if you're a new reader. And they sell, if I sell for 20, and I did a big print with that from Print Ninja,
Mm-hmm.
so I brought my cost down. And the margins are much better on the graphic novel to trade, and then things start to make sense.
Interesting. I was gonna do 6 issues
You
in
can.
a volume 1.
People do that.
Yeah, but
I just
maybe I'll start considering 3 though.
I write each issue like an 80s movie. So we used to do trilogies in the 80s. So that really is it's a complete story within itself when you
Okay.
get to my 3rd issue. For a new arc, I write another 3 issues. My latest arc is All Roads Lead to Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like vampire assassins from all over the world are coming to Jersey to get my main vampire guy. So, but those 3 issues fit together, and they all fit together nicely.
Okay.
So, and people are good with that. I mean, when they look at it, they go, okay, it's 3 issues. I throw in some extra covers and things in there. I'm not padding it. I mean, because I do these Kickstarters, I have so many variant covers. I could do anything. I have all this extra stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, the people on my Kickstarter now are like, could you just put out the art books? We would buy, like, if you put all your art books together, we would buy that. That's what they told me.
Which is
So,
cool. I mean, that's a great move.
yeah. Yeah. Art books, just so you know, art books to me, I was like, well, do I want, first of all, if it's a new character, I was like, it allows me to take the character and give it to the artists and have them create, I give general things. I'm not real specific with, Bunny, she's a space girl. It's like Harley Quinn meets Barbarella. Use your imagination.
Yeah.
And they did all different versions of Bunny, like all kinds of crazy versions. Then I put the art book out, and then I got feedback from the people buying, like which one they really saw as the character.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And that actually informed how I wrote issue 1.
That's
So,
really cool.
but also I don't have the cost of the interior comic.
Right.
I could do art books all the time just to raise money.
Now you did when you did the Bunny art book, you used Kickstarter?
Yeah. Yeah, I always included, because when you do Kickstarter, you have covers anyway, right?
Right.
So I always include an art book because there's somebody who says, "Oh, I like all the covers. I'd like them all." So I include an art book. But I've done Kickstarters that were just art books. Libertine was just an art book. The first Bunny was just an art book. And most of it was for me creatively to test the character.
Right.
But as a financial thing, it's perfect because, people will buy the art book because they like the art. They don't necessarily need the comic with it. And that lowers my, my nut for the entire project.
Yeah. Who do you use for your art books?
Well, it's all my artists.
No, I mean your printer.
Hero and Villains. They're out of Arizona. Kara Nicole actually lives down the street from them.
Okay.
That's how. And Wendy Shaner uses them, or has, and they recommended them. And their cost for what they do is manageable because they are 100% solar printer in Arizona. It's a husband and wife. Krista Crawford actually writes books, so she's all over my Facebook all the time because she releases stuff too. But her and her husband Steven run it, and they've been great. They've done I think 8 of my Kickstarters. I think I've used them for.
Wow. Now is it for the art book? Is it a traditional? What is that? 8.5 by?
Yeah, it's a regular size comic. It's just all the covers.
Yeah.
And you open it and it says, these are the artists on each page, and I usually include, at least two pages for each artist, and usually around 20 pages. I mean, sometimes I'll throw in more.
Right.
But 20 pages is usually pretty good.
Interesting.
And people, I've done 13 to 14,000 on an art book Kickstarter.
Whoa.
And that's without a comic.
That's huge.
And I did it with a new character. Libertine was a character nobody even knew about. So it's a way to break the character. It's a way to get it out there without, and also a way to get feedback from people as to what they like as far as the artwork. So it's done a lot for me. But when I do one of my regular issues, I always include it as an extra. And what do people do? They'll buy Vampires 9, and then they'll say, hey, I'll throw in the art book as an add-on.
And now, what do you charge for the add-on for the art book?
Art book, it's the same price. And the comics, I don't know. I have to look at it. The comic usually runs 15 to 25 to 30, depending on if you get the naughty version or the nice version or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, they love the add-ons because they can, they make what they want. And then when I do the art book, it's like pick your own cover art book.
Right.
So whatever one you want front is the one that'll be on the front.
That's why, that's a wild cost per
Yeah, interior is the same. The front is different.
Right.
And people will buy 2 or 3 of them sometimes.
Interesting.
And I've noticed, and I've been telling people, in my latest posts to my backers, I'm like, I have some of the same artists that are on these bigger Kickstarters, but my price isn't like $100 to $150 for those artists. It's reasonable.
Right.
Because I realize, things are tight and, I'm making a profit, but I don't need to gouge people.
Yeah.
But it's the same, they go to those bigger Kickstarters because they're all excited about it. I'm like, I got the same artist.
Right.
A lot of them.
Right.
And they work with me because they enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
They don't have to work with me, obviously.
Right.
So, so far it's held together pretty well. But yeah, the art book is a good tool to get it out there and also raise money without doing the full comic.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you already have the art. Well, now it's just.
Yeah. Well, now that's the other thing. One of my backers is like, dude, you already got all the art. All you got to do is slap them all together and I'll buy it.
Yeah.
He literally said that to me the first day of this campaign. I was like, all right, well, yeah, I'll do that. But at this point, after this many Kickstarters, I must have like 200 covers.
Holy
I have a lot of art,
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's insane. So yeah, I'll probably do something like that in the next year because that's what they're asking for.
Yeah.
But it's another way to, get your idea out and then test it with the public.
Right.
Because I knew Bunny. I think I did 17 with Bunny or 19 the first with the art book. And I said, well, yeah, I got something here. That's an art book and it did really well.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, then, I think I could do a full comic and they would like it. And then the comic did 37.5. And I was like, yeah, that's just on Bunny. That's 50. And then the resale covers are selling for $200 on eBay.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Shikari did this cover and everybody went crazy. Occasionally I get like a viral cover where like collectors are like nutty about it. And I was in comics launch is a class I took with Tyler James. I was in a discussion group and one guy was complaining. He's like, "Oh man, they're reselling my comic on eBay," and I'm all, and I'm thinking, well, once you sell it to them, they can do whatever they want,
Oh
But
yeah.
I was like, gee, I wonder if any of mine are on there. So I type up Bunny Goes to Space #1, Shikari, and I look and it's like listed for 185, and the guy just sold one. And I was like, that's insane. So I opened an eBay store. I sell them for 50 with a signature, and people buy them.
Yeah.
And I don't move a tremendous amount, but I throw it up there on occasion, and it just goes.
It offsets the cost.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. The ultimate flattery would be, you've created this thing that you're passionate about. Listen, if so and so up the road sees the demand that I don't see, and is like, oh, so many people want this, and I can sell it for $200. I'm like, man, they must love you a lot. Like what you're doing obviously doesn't stink, right? If
the market will tell you what they like and what they don't like, and it's up to you to figure it out after that.
Now, speaking of the business of it all, do you see yourself, Three Heads is you, right?
Yep.
So do you see yourself like creating a larger footprint with Three Heads?
Well, it started out as a film production company. So I've kind of turned it into media production.
Yeah.
I've done, I did music to score the films, and that's on Spotify and all the streamers. So it's, Three Heads could be a bigger thing than it is. But my attitude with the comics was I always wanted to put the media first.
Yeah.
I don't put me first.
Right.
I just say generally, this is what I do. And I always put whatever the story is or whatever the characters or whatever the artwork is up front. And I'm comfortable with that. I mean, I had one person who helped me with my Kickstarter, God bless her. She had worked with Kara Nicole before. And if you ever see Kara, she's Power Girl. I mean, she's amazing looking,
Yeah.
So all of her stuff was out front, was her, Kara. I mean, she sells swimsuit Kickstarters.
Right.
So she wanted to put me out front like that. And I said, look, I'm not Kara. Okay.
Right.
There's a reason why guys on Kickstarter go crazy for Kara. I said, I'm perfectly comfortable having my artworks, my artist work speak for, and my storylines speak for what I do.
Sure.
And I'm, it's just, to me, makes sense. Now, when I do a con, I have no problem talking to people. I have no problem going into stores.
Right.
I'm approachable. That's fun for me.
Yeah.
But as far as online and stuff, I'm pretty happy pushing this stuff forward because there's a quality there that grabs people's attention. I mean, I'm lucky. People walk by, at cons, and I look at their lips, and they all go, "There's New Jersey," to themselves, and I'm like, that's an amazing hook that they can walk by, and they can't really help themselves from at least like for a thought going, what is that? That seems, So I mean, but it takes time, and you're building it now, and
I'm trying.
It'll get there.
I'm trying, man.
The quality's there, but it's all laid out. I mean, like I told you, I was in 25 stores, and when you get to that point where you think you want to possibly be in stores, I know them.
Yeah.
And they're literally asking for me to put it back in stores, but I'm so busy shipping, I don't have time.
Yeah, and it's tough, right? Because and this is not a knock on brick and mortar stores at all.
Look, nothing makes me happier than to be in a comic store.
Yeah, this is just the state of things where you're like, man, this book costs just for anybody who's curious, for me, cost per comic book for me, for issue 1 to is $4.76.
Right.
And I printed 2,000 of them.
Yeah.
Right. I've got 1,000 to cover A, 1,000 cover B. Now, if I'm retailing this thing for $10, great. But then if I go to a brick and mortar,
Yeah.
I'm not giving it to them for $10.
Right.
I'm essentially giving it to them at cost.
Yeah. And everyone is different.
And right. I can imagine, you know what I'm saying? That if I buy this many, we do this. If I buy that, whatever it is. And I don't mind, as we move through, as I'm moving through issue 1, selling at cost, whatever, to brick and mortar, so that they can make their end. Right. But to your point, if I can sell this book direct to consumer for $10, or drive 30 minutes to the comic book store to sell it to them, at sometimes maybe even take a loss, so they can put it on their shelves, we're in this really weird spot.
Yeah, it's tough. But stores, I love doing signings at stores, being in stores and all that. But once you start shipping a couple hundred comics at a time, and it's just me, I mean, you're pretty busy. So, I'm at Ron's Comics all the time because that's my local store.
Yeah.
And it's my lab. I mean, everything I've done, I took to Pat there, Ron's son, and I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "I'm putting it over here." And, it would sell. Sometimes it would sell quickly. Sometimes it would take a while. But that's been where my launching pad for all of this, because I never knew I could sell a comic until they took a chance and stuck it in there, and it just went.
Right.
Then it was like, okay, I guess that's the thing now. So,
Yep.
But it's all very fragile and experimental, and you have to figure your way. But there's great opportunities for a lot of different things. But like I said, at your stage, it's about growing your storyline out, and keeping your quality as high as possible.
Yep.
And the market will be ready when you get to the point where you're at the graphic novel stage or whatever. But yeah, three issues in a graphic novel with some covers, people eat that up.
Okay.
And I don't know what else they're charging. Like when I do because I do all different types of conventions. It's not like I could say, well, they have Cupid dolls over there and they're charging $5 and I'm 20. Oh no, this it's totally different with me. And people don't usually bat an eye when I say $20, for a graphic novel.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm right now. So I have cover A, cover B for issue 1. Hopefully that's supposed to be in. I should. Keyword is should here.
It's
according to Print Ninja today.
Is it off the ship yet?
I should be getting a tracking number tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
my wife just walked in. Honey, he's using Print Ninja, and it's on the. Remember when my books were on the ship, and we were like, "Oh my God, it's on a ship." Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. So
I was all freaked out about these being on a ship,
dude. So November, allegedly.
Yeah.
November 30th.
Yeah.
My container arrived in port.
Okay. Well then,
but because of Christmas and everything else.
Oh yeah. This was the worst time. Yeah, because I ordered the same time of year, and they told me the exact same thing.
So I'm hoping I get a confirmation tracking number tomorrow, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
But
you'll get through it.
Yeah. So I've got my cover A, cover B, and I'll have issue 1. I'm planning to launch issue 2 mid-March, and for issue 2, I'm doing cover A, cover B with my same guys. So Ricardo is going to do cover A. Andrea is going to do cover B, and then Don Aguilon is going to be doing cover C, who was recently on he did the most recent King Spawn cover.
Okay. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. So he's going to be on that. And then we've been talking about like the medium. I'm playing around so this was originally a 300-page book. and I
awesome.
Started with 300, and it's not my first book. Like I'm like, dude, like fiction, I'm probably 7 or 8 novels, 300-page novels.
Yeah.
So
That's good, man. I'm
yeah, so
telling you,
I've got the content and I've got the worlds built
that's
and all
what you
that
need.
stuff.
Yeah, that's what you need.
But so I pulled from 300 pages. I'm 6 issues, right? So I had to cut some fat, and there were a lot of chapters that were like flashback chapters that you didn't really need, but I felt like they lent itself to the character. So I'm
Yeah,
doing a 22 page, like pulp short story,
that's good.
and I've got two guys on that, and I don't want to make that announcement yet until I
Yeah,
get the first bit of artwork in, and I can
yeah.
I can absolutely confirm um that we're good to go. But I'm very optimistic. These two guys are they're industry dudes, and I'm gonna do that. I think I might not kickstart it. I might,
Yeah.
because I think it'll drop. Um our deadline right now is February 1st,
Okay.
and I'm gonna print on man, what is it? Uh what's an 11 by 8.5? So like 8.5 by 5.5 or 11 by 5.5, whatever.
Mhm.
Like if you were just to take this sheet of paper and fold it in half,
Okay.
right? Like
Yeah.
um and that's what the short story is gonna be in. I'm gonna use Fireball printing out of Philly
Nice.
and do like a short run of like 750.
Okay.
And it's gonna be black and white except for the cover. There
Wow.
are only going to be 5 art panels in it.
Okay.
So it's like every 5 pages of short story, you get like a little splash.
That's really
Artwork.
cool. I mean, that sounds like something they would love on Kickstarter, though. I got to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
I'm thinking like I was going to just do it and include it in my Kickstarter for issue 2, and
Yeah,
it would just be
that's
an
good.
add-on.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. They like that little extra, thing that's totally unique.
Yeah.
So that would go very well.
Yeah, I'm really really excited for it.
Good, man.
Yeah, I just got, confirmed my cover artist. My interiors are confirmed. Um, but yeah, once I get the official art in, I'll make like a little announcement, or once I get the first bit of mock-ups, I'll kind of
Right,
create some buzz around it. But
right,
yeah, I'm just trying to think of unique ways to storytell it. And the 22-page short story is just a chapter from the book
right.
that I've kind of edited, and it'll be like this additional like Proctor verse story
Yeah,
type thing.
yeah, it's good, man. You're thinking broadly, which is what you need to do.
Yeah.
You're building something different, and the more of it you can do at your level. I mean, you don't have $1 million, so you can't do everything.
Yeah.
But I find even if you had $1 million, that's when we see movies where there's like too much crap going on, it's
Yeah.
because they had too much money. Sometimes you say, well, I hate to say it, but the first Matrix, nobody knew what was going on, and it's very focused storyline. And then all the success came in, and success can kind of screw everything up because
Yeah.
you can do anything now. Oh, well, let's try everything. Everything doesn't always work.
Right.
So you're doing specifics at what you can do right now, and that's the perfect foundation. So that's going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. So we shall see. Maybe one day I will have, you know,
You will.
just as many covers. We'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah. Just take your time with what you want to do and be reasonable. You have a life and family too and all that, but
Dude,
your long term have your long term and then your shorter term things, and just keep building towards things, and things will work out, and keep an eye on sales, and you're a smart guy. Even when I met you the first time, you had that poster, and you had your talk and everything. I mean, you're good. I could drop you on I always say, you could throw me on the moon with a table and I could pitch. And
thank you.
you're like me in that way. So, it's just a question of getting into the right cons, getting into the right whatever, but you're prepared, you know what I mean? Which is half the battle.
Yeah, I'm ready to rock and roll any day of the week. I've
Yeah.
come to realize that, like, and I think that just speaks to I did the singer-songwriter stuff for a while where I was
Yeah,
digging
me
deep
too.
and pretty heavy, and like we ended up taking meetings in Atlantic, and I had stuff on the radio. We licensed songs to MTV.
Nice, man.
Oh yeah, it was like
That's
around
great.
2010. I had to have like an honest conversation with myself about like what I saw
Yeah.
the next few years looking like. And
Yeah.
honestly, music was not it. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do
Yeah.
that because it's its own sort of rat race.
It is. My cousin's in it now. He signed a deal with Matador.
Oh,
I
nice.
guess in 2000, probably 14 or 15. And they put out 3 albums. They've toured all over the world. They opened for Depeche Mode in Germany.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're still on the road now. And he's ready to get out because it's been chasing. I mean, their big year was going to be the year COVID hit.
Yeah.
They literally played Stephen Colbert the month before COVID.
It's
And
brutal.
they were all ready, and it took the air out of the tour, canceled the album,
Yeah.
So it's a hard life. It's a very hard life. It's not like it was in the 80s
difficult.
or it's not as glamorous and all that. It's hard work now.
No, and now like you're really not. And you know what's funny? I feel like I'm moving through the comic book space, just taking lessons from the music space that I came from.
Yeah.
And you're just like, man, like at least I can sell the comic, the t-shirt, whatever.
Right.
If you're a musician now, it's so much more of a grind because first of all, everyone's streaming all of your music.
Yep.
And really like
all
now
over
if you buy a card, your card doesn't even have a CD player in it.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with that.
Yeah.
And now
well, I have an old car, so yeah, mine.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. But like
I'm the last guy.
Now there are issues where venues are taking 25% of merch.
See, that's crazy. That's insane.
Like,
that's the only thing you're making money on practically.
Yeah.
When you tour,
Ronnie Radke, the lead singer of a band called Falling in Reverse, just did a whole post about it where like
that's insane.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I can't sell my CDs. The venue wants 25% of my merch.
Yeah.
What are we even doing?
Yeah.
So I'm thankful that I'm not that grind is different.
Yeah, it's harder now than ever.
Yeah. Which is why I think it gives me
some wherewithal all over the world. My cousin, I text him, and we used to play guitar at our family reunions. I played guitar when he was 14, and he was singing and playing like an old blues guy. And I was like, where is this coming from?
Right.
So his talent is there, but it's not as much about talent as it should be, today.
Yeah.
And it's tough, but yeah, you can definitely take those lessons through, what you're doing now and apply.
Yeah. My logic is like, if I don't have to carry a bass cab up the steps of the Trocadero.
I played the Troc in '94.
Bro.
Yeah. I played the Troc with my friend's punk band, Stemhead.
Oh, nice.
So I'll send you the link. It's on Spotify.
Yeah, I love that thing. I mean, it's closed now, but
yeah, I love the Troc. I mean, it had its own personality. We'll say that.
Oh, it was the best. It was the best venue in the city.
Yeah, yeah, and the sound was incredible in there too.
Surprisingly, right?
Yeah. I love playing there. That was our big show.
Nice.
But you're on track, man. Just you know what to do. Sometimes it's like a natural rhythm, and you got it. So.
Thank you. So before we wrap this up, I have a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
So, of your properties right now, is there anyone that is like, I feel like Vampire is your baby because it was your first.
Yeah, it is. My other ones are actually more popular than Vampires. It's kind of weird. Bunny is super popular, and Blackjack actually is incredibly popular. That's my superhero where his powers change without his control. When I say that to people, their eyes light up. And I actually did have, and I'm not going to throw the name, I'll tell you off the air, but I have a guy who does a comic, started out with me, who got a deal with Disney. And his comic is going to be turned into a live action series on Hulu next year. And he offered me $50,000 for Blackjack. Yeah. So I'll let you get to your question, but each one has its own little unique thing about it.
But I was going to ask, which one is most dear to you?
I would say probably Blackjack, only because he's a PhD, and I kind of based him a little bit on my experiences. Just like in general, I don't have any superhero abilities,
Right. I got you.
but I used he's married, so he has to have those conversations with his wife about what's going on, and and things that are happening. So yeah, probably Blackjack. And my kids like that the most. They just thought it was like completely original that his powers change and he doesn't know when. So
Right.
it's like every issue I get to like pick a different superpower, and then try and apply it to like real world New Jersey, Philly living. If
Yeah.
you had that power, and then you're using it, and then it disappears on you when you need it most. So it's probably the most mercurial of the characters to play with.
Okay.
And I love superheroes like everybody. So, and everybody has like their own, like, oh, I like the Flash because he's fat. I like this because, so I get to relive all that kid stuff from when I was, little.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. But they're all, when you're writing them, you're thinking of all of them. They're all your babies. So
Yeah.
And it's just fun to people. I mean, I was telling, I think I was telling Renee last night, Renee Rocco, she's an author. This guy came to my table Saturday, and you get this, and he was looking at my book, and I was pitching, but he was staring at the book, and I'm like, I don't even know if I'm getting through to this guy. He walks away, he comes back again, he's staring at the book again. I'm talking, goes away. This is like over a couple hours. Comes back with a friend. And they're both staring at the book, and you don't know if you're getting through. He buys it. He goes away. I look at my Instagram. He's blowing up Instagram saying, I can't believe how incredible this book is.
Oh, that's cool.
Like it's a fantastic, like he went like, this is a fantastic read. I'm like, I like that. I like that he had like almost no expectations. He opens his book and it just blows his mind. So, as long as I can keep doing things like that, I'll continue to do what I'm doing.
Which book was it?
It was vampires.
Okay.
And I think people, they hear the hook and they have like, gee, I wonder what this is about, And I throw in like a quote from Pootie Tang and, some Kevin Smith Jersey dialogue and, and then some Sopranos style, debauchery or whatever. And then the vampires. I mean, it's got a nice mix to it. And, with the first issue, you have this thought you want to get out, but you can't give 100% of that because you give the whole thing away.
Right. Yeah.
So you give just enough to hook them, and it's very hard to get to that line. But I finally figured it out with that first issue.
Well, that's the hardest part about, I think, writing comics specifically.
Yeah.
Is pacing and figuring out. First of all, we entertain ourselves, right? Like this is also we're having fun doing this.
Yes.
And
I have to enjoy it first.
Right. So you're like, I can't wait to tell them the next thing.
Right.
But then from a logistical standpoint, you're like, oh my God, I can't tell them the next thing for 6 months.
Right.
Like
that's what got me with the first issue. I was like, is it enough to really get them? And then when my buddy was like, dude, I went to the store, I went to Ron's and it was sold out. And that was like 3 days after I put it in the store, and I was like, I guess it's enough. And then they were like, oh, people subscribe to it. And then I was like, I guess I got to crank out, and I knew what was coming, it was going to be meteor, but you want to give them just enough to hook them. And it's like, where's that line,
Now, were you publishing vampires twice a year?
No. I think it took to get in a regular routine with Connor, it took probably a year and a half.
Okay.
And then I have 9 issues now. So it's been maybe two a year.
Okay.
Maybe 2 a year, depending. But then the other things started coming out and they started taking precedent. And once I did Kickstarters, then I was creating like Bunny, I created just for Kickstarter.
Right.
That was a totally original character for Kickstarter. So then, that kind of filled in the gaps for vampires.
Yeah, I don't know how you're dude, that's a lot of energy to run that many Kickstarters across that many projects?
Yeah, it's been, I was saying to the team, because I have a team of like 10 artists that have kind of stuck with me. I was like, I'm ready to take kind of a break and reevaluate, the next steps, because the market's changed, the business has changed, and I have to change the way I'm doing it. And but I still see it as a viable way of raising funds to defray costs and also to reach people. And you created a constituency. You just did one. Now you have those people that are like, dude, when's the next one?
Yeah.
So you want to honor that. You want to continue. You want to grow it as much as you can, and you want to just keep going and just crank out those issues.
Right.
And Kickstarter does help you do that. I mean, I couldn't have gotten as far along as I have, as quick as I have, without it.
Yeah,
because I just couldn't get into enough stores, and I couldn't get enough margin out of that, and I couldn't do enough cons. I mean, cons are great, especially when they go well. But you have like one great con a month. If you could do that every weekend, we'd all be loaded. But it's like you get that good con, and you're like, when's the next one? And the next one doesn't go as well. You know what I mean? It's a lot of hills and valleys, but you learn as you go too.
Yeah, I've got Big Apple Con on Saturday.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's a good one.
I'm very excited, man. I'll be there with Spineworks. It's gonna be cool. So I'm pumped.
Yeah.
I'll have some copies of the book to sell because I did the overrun with Print Ninja, but they messed it up. And I want to credit them for this. It's not really entirely their fault.
Okay.
But I only got whatever X number of overrun, and I was supposed to get Y number. They let me know that the count got messed up. So they were like, listen, those books are still coming in from China. If you want, we can use our domestic printer to print you 60 additional copies of the book free of charge.
Wow. That's a good save on their part.
Yes. So they were very kind to do that. So the printing quality is a little different. It's digital. The paper stock's different, but I like them enough to where I'm definitely gonna, use them for promotional stuff and then sell them on Saturday. So
that's good. That's good. Yeah, Big Apple's a great con. I've heard like really, really positive things about it. So you should have a good time.
Good. Awesome.
All right.
Yeah,
all right,
brother. Well, listen.
I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime you want to talk. I don't do a regular podcast, but when I do a Kickstarter, I usually do like a week or so just to talk about something other than myself, because my family's sick of hearing about it, and I'm tired of hearing about it too.
I hear you.
I'm always interested in what you're doing.
Thanks, man.
And the other creators, and I want to get the word out. What I usually do is when this goes on YouTube, goes up there, I send the link out to all my backers.
Cool.
So they have some new content. So
awesome.
So they're aware of what you're doing. Tell everybody where they can get your stuff.
Sure. So you guys can follow me on Instagram at carmen.costa.writes. And then you can go online. My company is called harpooncreativeindustries.com. There's also a link in my bio on Instagram.
Cool.
Awesome.
Very cool. And Vampires of New Jersey, Kickstarter. Vampires of NJ on Instagram. Vampires of New Jersey on Facebook. And you guys know how to contact me. So. But right. Carmen, thanks for taking the time. I know it's a weeknight. I know you got stuff to do.
Yeah.
But anything I can do, man, just let me know.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. And that's it. We have another one tomorrow. I'm trying to remember who I'm talking to. It's a different person every day. I'm talking to Brandon E. Brooks, filmmaker in New Jersey, friend of mine. Should be a lot of fun. Hopefully, I think I'm talking to Fallon Vendetta this week too. That should be really cool. So, all right, have a good night, everybody. Thanks. Bada bing.